a look now at some of the fantastic era coins featured at the Long Beach Expo Summer Fun US Coins Signature Auction. And let's start off with, well, not an era coin as such, but rather a byproduct of the coining process. And let's be honest, in any other manufacturing process, this would be considered scrap. But to coin collectors and numismatists, this copper planchet strip is a fascinating insight into just how coins are made. This is what is left over from the copper sheet when the coining blanks or planchets are cut from them, ready to be turned into Lincoln cents. Authenticated by NGC as genuine, and at auction it was sold for $528. How about a coin struck so far off center that it really isn't even round anymore? Well, this is what we see here with this buffalo nickel that was struck about 60% off center towards the 2 o'clock position, relative to the obverse of the coin. We can see that this was a 1919 nickel, but the mint mark unfortunately is nowhere to be found. Graded by NGC as MS64, this is the first coin on this list that was once in the Milt-Cohen collection, and at auction it achieved a closing price of $2,400. Or how about taking that even one step further for a double error of sorts? A Lincoln penny from 1980, as luck would have it, that is practically the only design element that still remains on planchet for this coin. Not only struck practically 90% off center, but also struck on an elliptical planchet to boot. This coin is in a PCGS slab with a grade of MS62 brown, and by auction's end it had sold for the sum of $960. Here is a particularly, or well, let's say deceptively interesting coin. At a glance, it appears as an attractive but fairly straightforward double-struck error, but looking a bit closer reveals that things might not be that simple. It appears that the first strike took place with a strange partial indent over the lower half of the reverse. A new blank was then fed into and between this piece and the reverse die as it flipped over, leaving a part of the now obverse uniface and impressing the date on both sides of the coin. PCGS graded this 1981D flip over double struck Washington quarter as MS64, and at auction it raised $3,120. The next coin is a very interesting piece indeed. It is a result of a malfunction, or sometimes operator error, in the blanking process. Not the coining press itself, but the blanking press that makes the coin blanks, or planchets as they are known, where an elliptical shaped planchet is created and then fed into the coining press and struck as per normal. This 1972 Kennedy half dollar would then be the result. Graded by PCGS as MS65, and at auction it sold for $3,600. Yet another example of a rare kind of error was also on offer. This time though, the coin in question was a Lincoln cent. The shape of this piece is even more aggressive than the previous example, and the result is that the date and potential mint mark are both completely off planchet, despite the strike appearing to be rather well centered on this piece. Graded as PCGS MS65 red-brown, this coin was sold at auction for $690. During 1942, the US Mint was striking 5, 10, as well as 20 centavo coins for the nation of Ecuador. It seems that somewhere along the line, a planchet from a 5 centavo piece found its way into the hopper bin, feeding a Merucry dime press, which is how we now end up with this brass dime weighing only 2 grams. NGC graded this wrong planchet error as MS62 with full bands, no less, and at auction it sold for $9,000. An undersized Franklin half dollar is now presented, thanks to the fact that the coin was struck on a dime planchet. Oddly, this coin is reasonably centered despite the size difference of the two pieces, although most of the denomination is off flan, though we can tell that this is a Type 1 reverse with 4 feather tips left of the perch, although both the date and the mint mark are also off planchet. This coin is somewhat famous in its own right and was once a part of the Milt Cohen collection. Graded as NGC MS63 at auction, it managed to raise $9,000. Due to the tight controls that are enforced over gold coins, errors that manage to escape the mint are truly rare. After all, making a mistake on a penny or a dime is one thing, but making a mistake on one of your flagship gold coins is not only embarrassing, but very costly as well in comparison. This 1893 S half eagle was struck around 10% off-center due north relative to the obverse. Anecdotal evidence suggests that this coin might once have belonged to Virgil Brand, as an entry in his journal from 1909 describes a coin that matches this one almost exactly. Graded as NGC MS62, $15,600 was the final price when this lot's number was called. Now we have a first year of issue 1892 Barber dime from the San Francisco Mint with a fantastic Obverse Die Cap. After a planchet was normally struck into a Barber dime, instead of getting ejected, it became stuck to the Obverse die. Another planchet was then fed in and struck, causing this first coin to be forced down and around the obverse die, forming the distinctive bottle cap shape of a die cap error. Graded by NGC as MS63, this incredible specimen, which retains most of the reverse details, which is rather unusual for the type, was sold at auction for $16,800. Wrong planchet errors are hardly anything new, and we've seen it just a few moments ago on this very list. However, 19th century examples of this error type are considerably scarcer, and to see a shield nickel struck on an Indian head cent planchet is truly something noteworthy. It is also interesting to note that some of the details on the coin, like the leaves on the left of the obverse, are not completely fully struck up. This is due to the penny planchet being slightly smaller and, more importantly, thinner than the intended nickel, meaning that there simply was not enough metal to strike up these details. Graded by NGC as MS64 brown, this rare coin managed to raise no less than $20,400 at auction. Collectors familiar with the Standing Liberty Quarter series will likely know how rare and how truly rare dramatic error coins are for this series. In his definitive reference on the series, J.H. Klein actually makes note of this exact coin, stating that it is the second furthest off-center coin that he was aware of at the time. Graded by NGC with a 35% off-center strike and a grade of MS65 with what are truly amazing full head details, and every last rivet on the shield is completely struck up. This MS65 full head grade was able to secure an astoundingly rare error coin, a closing price at auction of $33,600. Subscribe to WNN and activate notifications with the bell icon so you'll know when new videos are released. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, stay safe, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.